Okay, welcome everybody to today's Feminization workshop. I'm Rachel. Hello. Can I get a quick hello from the crowd, please? I'm going to ask you all to say a nice big hello on a count of three. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much indeed for deciding to spend some of your Sunday with us here at the Academy. So a little bit about myself. Hi, my name's Rachel. I'm a vocal feminization coach, and I've been teaching people how to find their voices for the last 3 years. I've worked both independently and as part of Seattle Voice Lab over on the West Coast, and I'm also a head coach over here at the Trans Academy. And you can find out more about me and my private sessions over on transvoice.com. That's exactly how it sounds. Here at the Academy, we've got a bunch of different resources here, and we're trying to always grow what we have. So we've got these classes every other Sunday. We've got Stavi taking on some broader voice changing classes, so things like voice masculization, androgenization in there as well. And we also have Jess doing her lessons throughout the week, although there will be some disruption in December as Jess needs to study for exams and finals and things. So the way this is going to work today is we're going to go over a brief little bit of an introduction, a little bit about safety, a little bit about some of the terms that we're going to be using in voice feminization, and making sure that everyone's reading off the same hymn sheet with how we're going to be describing different things. Then we're going to go ahead and get different volunteers up on stage for 10 minutes each, and we're going to take a look at working towards their goals, wherever the goals may be, wherever you might be in this long journey of voice feminization. We're here to help you out. So we'll get you up on stage, and we'll take a look at how we can move you just a little bit further ahead as well. So some ground rules just to start off with as well. I'd really appreciate it if we can keep any sort of chatting in the stage just to a minimum, because it can be pretty loud when you're in amongst the crowd and when people are having a chat. So please do, if you want to have a conversation, please feel free to explore the rest of the Academy and come back when you're ready. We'll be here for you. Feel free as well to try out any sort of exercises that we do, but do know that different people will be at different stages. And if you find that you can't do something that someone on stage is doing, it's not to worry. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. So to get a quick show of hands from everyone, who has been here before? I can see quite a few familiar faces in here. Awesome. Cool beans. And who's here for the first time today? Cool. Awesome. Good stuff. So I want you all to know that voice feminization is doable for the vast majority of us. I think that as long as we don't do a lot of vocal, anyone can get there. For me, myself, my voice used to be super duper low. Amongst my friends, it was the first one to drop, back in high school.
And, my speaking voice originally was right the way down here, so miles away. And my voice actually prevented me from
transitioning for years. I didn't transition until I was 25 because I was just like, my voice. It was really, really hard to be able to see a path forwards when my voice was right down there. But voice is so flexible. There is so much that we can do with it. And after finding my own way through voice, I just felt this is so empowering. Like, the world needs to know more about this stuff. So I spent the last 3 years, as I say, helping other people to find theirs. We're going to start off with a bit of a talk about safety here. Throughout the talk, if you have any sort of questions, please do raise your hand as well, and we'll get to you there. So with safety, the main thing that we should know is that nothing that we do should hurt, okay? No pain, no gain does not apply here. Nothing should hurt at all. We want to really listen to our bodies, because it's going to be a good barometer if we're doing things in a healthy way or not. So any sort of pain, if it's a slow building ache or like a really sudden sharp, oof, that didn't feel good, stop what you're doing and let someone know. Either myself or Jess or Savvy, all really good resources here. As well, if you find that you've got any sort of pushing or squeezing to get a certain sound, that's also no good. We have these things inside of our body called the false vocal folds, which I'll put on screen in a minute, and they're what's responsible for a lot of effortfulness in the sound. Let's take a look here. Just to check in with everybody, can you all see this lovely diagram on the screen as well? If you can jump or wave your hand if you can see it. Yep. Perfect. Awesome. So we have a bunch of different things going on here. This is our part of our vocal tract. This is our voice box, our larynx. And in here we have a bunch of different stuff. We have the vocal folds down here. Vocal folds, vocal cords, same thing. They make the sound of our voice. Above that, we have these things here called the ventricular folds or the false vocal folds, okay? These are what we want to avoid using. These can come in or they can kind of be retracted. But when they come in, they're responsible for a very squeezy, effortful sound. And I want us all just to touch on that for a sec to know what to avoid. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you all to give me your best kind of old person voice, your best kind of impression of that. I'm going to you all to give me a nice old, "Hey, you kids, I don't want you to hear this kind of raspiness" in the voice. Okay, we're going to live in that for a moment. I'm going to count you all in for a big old, "Hey, you kids," on the count of 3. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, you kids. Beautiful. Yeah, I'm never going on this lawn again. Perfect. Well done, everyone. So that feeling that we had there, that difference between and hear that the second one is raspy, it sounds effortful. And did anyone feel when they were doing that their throat was like a little bit squeezy? Maybe they had some like tension in neck muscles. Yeah, a few of you. Cool beans. So when we hear that sound, it's a good little red light on our dashboard here that say, "Oop, no good, we need to try again." Throughout all of this here, we want to be as relaxed as possible. This includes within our throat itself, around the neck, in our shoulders, in our jaw, our tongue. It's very easy for us to get really tense and locked up. And we want to be as relaxed as we can through this because it will really lessen the chances of us having any sort of vocal mishap. It will make the voice a lot more sustainable. I know this can be hard, especially when we're working through dysphoria. My voice dysphoria used to be through the roof. So try your best to be kind to yourself, to be loving to yourself in this process. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and we'll all get there as long as we put in the work. So some other things to avoid as well. If you have any unintended change to the voice, if you feel like your voice all of a sudden just feels different, that's a sign that something could be up. So some things that are included here, the voice requiring a lot more effort to use generally, like you have to really try to make voice. If you find that your voice is really, as we described earlier, if it's kind of really shaky, if you find that it just keeps on cracking all of a sudden where it didn't before, if you find that you can't get as loud or as quiet or as high or as low as you used to be able to with your voice, all these signs say that we should stop and pause and reevaluate, okay? So I haven't had anybody have a vocal injury yet that I've taught, and touch wood, I don't want anybody to be the first here. Sometimes vocal injury can be a result of a bunch of different factors coming together. So let's say that you're really ill and you've had a big cough and you've been practicing really hard. Let's say that you've had a day full of meetings as well. All these different factors can add up and cause ourselves a lot of vocal fatigue. If you find that your voice is really hard to use, it's just like effortful, it's not behaving as it used to, a good idea can be to go on a brief period of vocal rest. I do this every now and again. I think I've taken like 2 or 3 days of vocal rest this year. And this is where we spend 24 hours of just not talking at all. No talking and no whispering either. Okay, whispering's cheating. It still dries out the vocal folds. It's no good for us. That's really, really helpful to get us back to where we want to be. I'd also say some things to look out for. Smoking, we want to lessen that if we can. Drinking alcohol in moderation, and if you've got a hangover, don't practice the next day. Vaping or smoking anything else as well, that can get in the way of our voice training and make things a little bit more tricky. Caffeine, too much caffeine, that can get in the way. But really, we just want to also take a look at keeping hydrated. Keeping hydrated is really, really key. The vocal folds are one of the last tissues in the body to get hydrated, so please do make sure that you have a nice old glass of water about an hour or half an hour before a practice session. That'll give it time to affect all the mucus production and all the tissues in the way that we want it to. Especially if those of us amongst us are on Spiro, we want to be careful with hydration. Make sure that you keep up on your fluids too. Okay, so before we move on, I want to have a quick show of hands if anyone has any questions with regards to safety, any other questions at all or any concerns before we move on. If you'd like to raise your hand or jump if you're on desktop or use a little emoji, that would be great. I think, yeah, Luna, hello. Luna, hi. What's your question?
What if you do get a vocal injury? What should you do?
Yeah, for sure. So if you do get a vocal injury, if you do experience any sort of those signs, well, I'd say there's a difference between having some vocal discomfort and a diagnosed vocal injury. If you are feeling discomfort, resting up, starting practice is a good idea. if you come back to practice a day or two later and you find that the issue is still there, then it can be a good idea to either take a look at what you're doing with your practice, to book in a session with myself or another vocal coach to see if there's something very direct that's causing it. Or if you find that this is something that permeates into the rest of your voice and you do have signs of like dysphonia or something going on with your voice that is new, it's a good idea for you to stop any sort of vocal work and to make an appointment with a doctor. I can't give medical advice because I'm not a doctor, but what will often happen is that they might refer you to either an ENT, an ear, nose and throat doctor, or a laryngologist. And the great news is that a lot of vocal injuries are really easy to see. They'll be able to take a camera, put it through the nose, and have a look down at what's happening inside of your voice box to see if anything is going wrong. Depending on what happens there might be surgical intervention, although that often comes in where the signs are really quite obvious. There's a lot going on. There might be surgical intervention. There might be some different sessions booked in with a speech and language pathologist. There's a lot of different avenues, and it really depends on what's going on with you. But I'd say take it easy, listen to your body, make an appointment with a doctor if you are concerned. And a lot of these things are really, really treatable. So don't worry too much. But the main thing, though, is don't push yourself too hard in practice, and we won't end up there in the first place. Okie doke. Any other questions on safety? Ruby, is that a question, by the way, or is that just your arm? Can't tell. Awesome. What's your question, Ruby?
Rest. I'm a full-time student at the moment, which obviously requires a bit of speaking. How much rest is really the minimum of it?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'd recommend 24 hours, like a whole day, to really allow your vocal folds just to reduce any self-inflammation, to have them quieten down and be a lot happier. If you have to speak in that time, I think that any vocal rest is better than none. Yeah, I would say that just go for the 24 hours if you can, but if you have to ask a couple of questions in class, I wouldn't worry about it. I still think there are benefits to backing off for a day.
Thank you.
Ideally 24, but if we get less, no worries. Cool beans. Any other questions before we move on? Nope. Cool. Okay, let's get started then. So we're going to go into a little bit of a brief overlook of the theory, and we'll be quick so I can squeeze in as many people as we can today. So there are three main different variables that we have in vocal feminization. I'd love for you all to shout out, well, to raise your hands, please, actually, because there's too many of them. It'll be chaos. And if you can raise your hand if you know one of these different variables, and we'll have a little bit of a chat about it. Anybody know any of these big three? Don't be shy. Yes, no, Wolf, hello. What's one of them, please?
One of them was weight.
Absolutely. Vocal weight, that's a big one. Vocal weight is all about the amount of oomph and drive within the voice. So the difference between, a voice that might be like this, really heavy, really buzzy, and a voice that's like this, a bit softer, a bit more rounded. It's all about that tone. A good way that we can feel this, and it's a bit of a tradition in this class, is I want you all to imagine a really nice, cute kitty or a cute puppy in your hands. It's going to be absolutely adorable. And on the count of three, I want you all to give me a really nice, really soft. Ah, okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ah, really soft. Beautiful, absolutely. This is a really light vocal weight. Okay, perfect. Now I want you all to imagine that that cat or dog is just thrown up all over you and oh my god, it's the worst. Okay, then we'd be speaking with a heavier vocal weight. So let's give it a go. Can you give me a nice old on the count of 3? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Please. Beautiful. Perfect. So vocal weight, it has a big impact onto the amount of fatigue that we get from our voice. If we are trying to get to higher notes with a heavy vocal weight, speaking up here can be really fatiguing. So by softening out, we actually have our vocal folds come together a little bit less violently, and it makes it a lot easier on our voice to sustain these higher notes where the vocal folds are really going at it quite quickly. It also sounds better. It sounds more femme. Women on average speak with a much softer vocal weight than our masc counterparts. When we're used to speaking at a lower pitch.
So, if I go back to my dead voice, I need a lot of vocal weight to drive this down through to keep it going. If I talk with the same amount of vocal weight
I normally would in my voice up here,
you can hear that it's really kind of hard to maintain.
excuse me. It's pretty difficult. It doesn't want to do it. And so we often have, when we're beginning, a lot of vocal weight that we need to just reduce and back off a little bit. It is a balancing act, finding out where you can live between being really quiet and sounding loud enough while keeping nice and light, but it's a skill that we'll all get to. So really, really nice. Vocal weight, a big one. Anybody else know the next one, please? I say the next one, there's no order. Nikki Kitty, hello. What's another one, please?
Pitch?
Pitch, absolutely spot on. So how high or how low we are talking. We have a few different variables within pitch. We have our average pitch, where we spend the most of our time. We have our pitch floor. So if I'm talking and then all of a sudden I have something like that going on, it's going to degrade the overall perceived gender of the voice. We also have the highs. And the highs are like a lovely little indicator to those who are listening that, yeah, we can go up here anytime we like. We are just touching these high notes so easily, and it's a really big marker for getting a she, her on the phone, easy access to those high notes. There are lots of different places that you can live with your voice. There is no one size fits all, and if we look at cis women's voices as a model sometimes to learn from, cis women's voices on average live around about 200 hertz, 210, 190, depending on the study. Often go as low as 110, 120. Like Scarlett Johansson, for example, she will live at 150 hertz and then drop down to 120, but always have that easy access to 280, 380, and above. If these numbers are a little bit confusing as well, you can imagine these numbers as just arbitrary units. They're really good to use on something like a pitch tracker, like Voice Tools. Highly recommend that app. It's freely available on Android and iOS. Voice Tools, it's called, 2 separate words. The one thing with Voice Tools is that you'll need to get rid of the gender markers on the front. If you go into settings, turn off gender markers and turn on a target range, a good target range to start with is a floor of 130 and highs of 260. But for everyone, it will be different. Okay, cool. So pitch, we also have registers in there. Does anybody know what a register is? If we talk about M0 maybe, or M1, can anyone tell me what that is? Wave your hand if you can. Beautiful. Iceland, hello. Was that a hand? Just to double check. Oh, maybe not. Okay.
No, sorry.
Anybody else? No worries. Does anybody know what a register is for the class as well? Ooh, a little bit quieter on this one. Cool, I'll dive in. So a register is all about the different gears that we have within the voice. We have 3 of them normally, 4 if you're Mariah Carey, but I do not, not able to do that. We're not going to go there. So our M1 or mode 1 is our regular old speaking voice. For me, this is everything from like, all of that space there. We also have our M0, which is our vocal creak or fry register, which kind of sounds like this. That's where our vocal folds just very, very gently come together and make that creaky sort of sound. I want to see if we can all make this together. On a count of 3, I'm going to ask you all to give me your best sound. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Please. Perfect. Absolutely. Gorgeous. Alrighty. Now we also have our M2. M2 is our Mickey Mouse voice, our high note and take on me, our all of this stuff up here. And I want to see if you can all match me up here. I'm going to make this note kind of like an ooh, and I want you all to get as close as you can in this hollow, falsetto-y sounding kind of voice in the count of 3. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Ooh. Beautiful. Yes, absolutely beautiful. So this M1, if this is like going from low to high here, our M2 has a bit of overlap. There are some notes that I can get in my M1 and also my M2. For example, if I go to this note up here, let me just grab my pitch device. This would be in my M1. It feels nice and whole. And if I go, this would be in my M2. It sounds kind of hollow. So that's the difference between those two here. And we want to spend the majority of our time in M1, but M2 isn't a bad thing. We can go up there every now and again to just pinch a note or two, and it's really good for laughing and coughing and sneezing and all that good stuff. So worth looking into. Now we're going to move on to our final thing. It begins with an R. Does anybody know the answer? Actually, I'm going to ask you all to shout it out on the count of 3. We've had pitch, we've had weight. Here we go. What's the last thing? 3, 2, 1. The answer is yes. Perfect. Woo. Okay, cool. I want to get a quick show of hands here because I always find this one interesting. Who has like a kind of okay understanding of resonance, but they're not sure of what's going on with it? Yep, a couple of us. Cool. Who among us has absolutely no idea? Cool. Brave souls as well. That's like, yes. Good, good, good. And who has a pretty firm understanding of resonance and feels confident with it? Good. More of us. I like to see it. Cool. So I do find that a lot of us can struggle with resonance. It's kind of one of these things that we often don't change in our voice intuitively, but it's all about the size and shape of our vocal tract. So if we take a little look at this here, R1, R2, and R3, what happens is that this space here, this R1 space, this actually gets a little bit longer and a little bit wider when exposed to T, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to shrink that back down by raising the larynx, moving the tongue up and forwards, and that helps to make a brighter sound. So, for example, if I stay on this note here, hello, and then I steadily start to increase the space within my vocal tract. Now it's really big. Hello, 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 hello. You can hear just how much that changes the character and timbre of the sound. Really, really, really powerful stuff. So we went over the big 3, and we're now going to go for our first volunteer here. So what I'd love you all to do, if you would like to come on stage, please, to first of all check your settings to make sure that your microphone mic activation threshold is all the way down, that you are on like push to talk, and that we also have any sort of noise suppression turned off, please. That'll mean I can hear all of your lovely voice. So if we can start off by getting a few hands, who would like to come up on stage and take a look at working with me here today? Yep, cool. Cabbage, hello, you got my out there. If you can come up on stage and if everyone can give Cabbage a big old round of applause, please. Woo! It takes a lot of guts to get up here, so really well done. Okay, the way this is going to work is I'm going to start a 10-minute timer here, and we're going to take a look at what your voice is up to. Let's see. All right, Cabbage, your time starts now. So welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you feeling today?
A little nervous.
Yep, no worries. I know the stage does that to people. So welcome. Good job coming up here. I know it can be like, when you first try. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey with vocal feminization so far? Have you been doing anything longer? What have you been up to?
I've just watched a few videos and tried to practice along, but I haven't done it extensively.
Cool. And what's that practice look like when you've been practicing? Have you just been trying to bring it all together? Have you been doing specific exercises? Tell me a little bit more about that.
They would just kind of do little exercises, and I would just kind of follow along what they did, but I never really understood how to use it.
Okay, cool. So I think a good place for us then could be to start out find a baseline for your voice of where we can get it to be usable. We can also take a look at some different exercises and building a bit of a routine. But let's start off by seeing what you can do for us, first of all. I'm going to make a selection of different notes on my app over here, and I'm going to match them with a nice old R sound. And what I would like you to do as well, Cabbage, is to match me on these different notes. So we're going to start off down here, nice and easy. If my phone wants to cooperate, that is. There we are. Okay, so if you can match me with a nice old R sound down here. Can you get that again? Cool, cool. Let's go for this one. When you're ready, that Cabbage. Oh, can you give that a go for me? You've got it. Perfect. Well done. Here's the next one. Let's try this next one. Right there when you're ready. That one's a little trickier. What I want you to do for me is to give me a nice rising ah. We're going to start low. I'm going to try and get up to the note, and then I'm going to come back down. Have a listen to mine and see if you can match me. Can you get that again? Well done. Perfect. Cool. We're going to keep on going. This one's a little bit higher. When you're ready on that one, please.
Ah.
Beautiful, well done. Ah. It's all right if the voice wants to crack and wants to break. Totally normal. When you're ready, give it a go. All the way up there.
Ah.
Well done. Cool beans. Okay, so what I'm starting to find is that after we get to around about a G3 at about 196 hertz, this is where things start to sound like they're getting a little bit tricky. When we got to the A3 at 220, this is when things got a little bit harder and the cracking started to be a little bit more evident. For me, a really, really great place for you to be able to feel like you're making progress is looking at these notes and getting more and more of an access and range into them. Have you taken a look at any SOVTEs, Cabbage, yet as well? Have you seen any of those?
No.
Cool. Okay, let's talk about them. So SOVTEs are a lovely way that we can train our voice to get exactly what we want for you. Easy access to these higher ranges so that we can then start to talk in them. There are a selection of different sounds. You can find out more about them in the first recorded lecture. Highly recommend you take a look at that because it does take some time to get into them. But I want to try a couple of these out with you. We're going to start off with a nice old lip trill, okay? What I want you to start off by doing is by pushing your lips out forwards and making kind of like an extended raspberry sound, kind of like a nice horse noise is what we're going for. Can you give that a go for me? Perfect. Yes, cool. The trick is to keep the lips nice and relaxed and to sustain the same amount of air going through our system continuously. Let's try again and see if we can get one a little bit longer. Try that. Better. Absolutely. Well done. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to try and make a voice with this here. Have a listen to mine. I'm going to get my lips moving, then I'm going to start the voice. And I'm going up and down just a little bit gently. Can you give that a go for me? Real close. Try again. Remember to keep that airflow nice and consistent. Real close. I can just feel those lips just start to tighten up though. Cool. A big tip as well is if you take your forefinger and thumb and place them just below your lips and push upwards a little bit, that can help to sustain the sound. Let's try making a few different noises here at some different pitches with this exercise. I want to start off here finding the note. Can you give me a nice old ah sound? Right there, please. Good. Now hold that in your head and we're going to go for that with the lip trill. Have a listen. Oops. I want you to count to 3 in your head. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, while keeping that lovely note there going. When you're ready, Cabbage, give that a go, please. Nice. Good. Okay, and again. One more time. So close. Really, really good job. Awesome. Let's try it a little bit higher up. Can you try this here? Again, counting to 3 in your head. On that note, when you're ready, please, Cabbage. Good work. Perfect. Now let's play around with it. I want to start there and move up and down gently. Try that one for me. Awesome work. Really, really nice. Okay, let's try a different sound. We're going to go for a zzz as in buzz. And again, I want to try out at this low note first. Can you match me with a nice old zzz down there, please?
Zzz.
Awesome. Good. I want to see if we can try and get rid of some of that shakiness. I want you to take a nice big breath in. Make sure you're sitting up nice and straight in your chair as well. And make sure you got plenty of air. And we're going to try and regulate the amount of pressure at our lips the amount of pressure from our lungs to get it nice and stable. Can you try that for me? Better, absolutely. Perfect. A lot less shaky, a lot better. Let's move it up. Let's go to here. Okay, your turn when you're ready. Good work. Now I need to get to that same note without increasing volume. I heard a little bit of and like leaning into it and increasing vocal weight. I want to see if you can keep it nice and soft for me. Okay, when you're ready, give it another go. Well done. And now we're starting to get a little bit of that shakiness back, right? So again, I want you to keep that lovely softness. Focus on your breath again. Really big breath in. Focus on the pressure at your lips and balancing it all out. And again, we're going to go one more time while keeping it really nice and light in the vocal weight. Okay. Well done, well done. Perfect. Okay, so what we're starting to get is a lot of the core ideas around SOVTEs, that we want the sound to be nice and gentle. We don't want to push as we get to these higher notes, which we have a big habit of doing when we're starting out. We want to go ahead and try and make every different sound nice and stable as we do so. So this is a really nice place to start off with vocal feminization. And I'd recommend doing this for anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes a day. No more than that, that's all we need. You can find out more details about the structure of these exercises in that first lesson, but there are a bunch of different sounds, including z, v, vzh, z. The lip trills, of course. We can also get a rolled R, or a strong water, where we are going to be blowing into a little body of water, and that's going to give us some lovely back pressure. These exercises, that's our time, they're really, really great. They're a safe training ground for you to be able to start to branch out and get these higher notes more easily. For this one, it's all about walking before we can run and making sure that reaching like a B3 is nice and easy with a selection of different SOVTEs. We want to make that nice and accessible while keeping a light vocal weight and staying in our M1. Once you've done that, I think you'd be ready to go on to the next stage. But a few things to let you know about and to let everyone else know in the crowd. No pushing. If you find that you can't get to a note quite yet, I want you to make sure that you go 1 or 2 below. We want to be operating where it's like a 7 out of 10 difficulty, where it starts to just get a little bit tricky. If we're going all the way up to here and it's cracking a lot and it's really hard to do, no good. We need to take the notes down a bit. So for you, Cabbage, I would start practicing between C3 and G3 on these different SOVTEs, going for 10 seconds on each little note. And again, you can find all those notes in the Voice Tools app. Look back at that first lecture, find those different SOVTE sounds and experiment with them, practice them. They're really, really, really handy. And after 2 weeks of that, 3 weeks of that, I think you're going to be much better and ready to be able to go for this and finding the blueprint of your voice as well. And do you have any questions, Cabbage, on all this stuff? Does that all make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Awesome, cool. Can I get a huge round of applause for Cabbage, please? Woo! Awesome work. Thank you so much. If you'd like to retake your seat, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, big question that is often asked, where do I start? There's all this different info out there. A big part of this for me is starting to look at what our goals are. I think accessing a A3 or B3 or even a C4 in your M1 is a really good place to start if you can't already. For different people, it will be harder. For me, for example, where I was starting with my voice, it wasn't very flexible. It was really hard for me to get C4 and M1 to begin with, and so I wouldn't focus on that. Focus on the small goal first and then move it up and up and up. We want you all to keep motivated and track this stuff here. So that's a really big goal. The other goals include separating resonance and pitch so that you can move one without the other one moving, and being able to access different combinations of vocal weight and resonance and pitch and really be able to hear those things. Once you can reliably do that, it's a great time to start to get into crafting the voice and practicing, bring this all together. Now, I'd love to check with everyone. Do we have any questions relating to what we just saw on the stage or any SOVTE related questions? Anybody in the crowd? Nope. Cool beans. Alrighty. And do we have any questions? Oh, hi, Sasha. Hello. I didn't see you there. What's your question?
Yeah, I wanted the confirmation because I'm taking notes. I wanted to confirm the range to try
Awesome.
to achieve because I'm bad at taking notes.
No
Could you
problem.
repeat,
I know that feel.
the range that would be the best to try to
Yeah,
reach
for sure.
with the notes?
No worries. I think starting off with a C3 and going up to around about a G3 first is a good goal. Stretch goals A3, B3, and C4 on the high notes. It all really depends on you. And if you find that you're really pushing or squeezing and it doesn't feel comfortable, we need to go lower. But eventually, I think that it's pretty reasonable to expect that the vast majority of us could get to a B3 or a C4 in our M1 voice, in our main speaking voice. Perfect. Alrighty.
Okay.
Any other questions? And any questions online? Hello, Shay. What are the questions online?
Hello. Sarah the Dragon asks, what's the difference between vocal weight and resonance?
Good question. So vocal weight is all about the amount of oomph and drive within the voice here. Resonance is all about space. When we think about this diagram here of the power source filter model, we have a few different areas of the voice. We have the power, which is starting the story off. This is really helpful to get right. When we were talking with our last volunteer, when I talked about focusing on that breath, getting a big, long pull of air first, and then focusing on that pressure, it made the voice much more consistent, so we need to be aware of that. We then have the sound source. This is where most of the magic is happening. These are our vocal folds in the larynx, and they control vocal weight, vocal pitch, false vocal fold activation, bunch of stuff. This is where our resonance is happening. So it's kind of a different mechanism. Weight and pitch are happening down here. Resonance is kind of a passive byproduct of the space that we have through which the sound travels. To hear it differently, a change in resonance would be as so. E, 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 E. That's going from dark to bright with a pretty consistent vocal weight. Now, if I take a look at just changing vocal weight with a static resonance, let's see what that sounds like. You can hear it gets buzzier. If I do this on a dark resonance, the sound gets more full and kind of operatic. So it's all about learning to split those two apart. We can also think about these things kind of existing at the same time. For example, a bright resonance with a heavy vocal weight is going to sound really piercing. A bright resonance with a light vocal weight is the sweet spot. A dark resonance with a light vocal weight sounds kind of doughy and a little bit Patrick Starry. A dark resonance with a heavy weight is like big opera land, is where we're going with that. So pull those things apart, and I think that should be great. And there's also a bunch of lectures on that as well online. I hope that helps. Any other questions on the Discord or on the Twitch as well, Shay?
Yes, we have one more from Twitch.
Awesome.
Kinzerio asks, if possible, I'd like to ask how to get louder while staying in a lightweight voice.
Yeah, for sure. So it really depends on how you're sounding with this one. If we have to project, if we're in a noisy environment like a cafe or a gig, we are gonna have to increase our vocal weight to be able to be heard. So, if I'm like in a cafe, hey, yeah, can I grab 2 cappuccinos and a latte, please? Yeah, awesome. I've got a heavier vocal weight, but I'm not going so far into it that, hey, yeah, can I grab, where it's really heavy. Listen to the sound. We're gonna need to increase it with that increase in volume. But if you're actually having this problem with just normal conversational volume, and if you've got someone in front of you and they're like, gosh, I can't hear you talk, and you're like, yeah, hi, hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, then we just need to try experimenting with getting a little bit more oomph in there without getting that buzz, that know-me kind of buzz that we have in there. If we feel that kind of sharpness coming in, there's likely too much vocal weight. If we don't have that, we can start to increase the beans a little bit and start to get a bit more oomph going through. I'd also want to say that I think it's totally good to, when you're learning, to have different versions of the voice. My first version of my voice was super heavy in vocal weight. It was like, when the sunlight strikes raindrops in the air, they act as a prism and form a rainbow. It was super heavy. I then went through a period of being like super light. Hello, hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm really good, thanks. It then took me another couple of iterations to get a little bit too heavy, then just about right. It's okay if we feel like we're living in the too light or too heavy zone for a little bit, as long as we course correct. And overcorrecting sometime, trying to get into the middle is a valid strategy as well. Great question. Any other questions online, please, Shay?
That looks like that's all we have for the moment.
Awesome, cool. And just to check with the crowd, any other questions relating to that first volunteer that we've had here today? Hello, Raki. Hi.
Yes, I'm having trouble with the lip thrill thing. I mean, I can sustain it for like 5 seconds, but you said to sustain it for 10 seconds, and I find this hard to do because I run out of air before. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I've practicing for 2 months at this point.
Oh, I see. Okay, this is something where a video feed would really, really help so that I could see exactly what's going on. It might be the positioning of the lips. What it sounds like is happening is that the position of the lips isn't right and requires too much pressure and airflow to sustain the sound, so that you're running out of air prematurely. What we want in an ideal world is just to be able to continuously without really using much air at all. And the trick to that is really pushing the lips out really nice and far, really nice and wide, and having very little tension on the lips. The lips should be really nice and floppy. There is a little bit of pressure coming from the top lip onto the bottom. And I would say that my bottom lip juts out a little bit more than my top lip as well. I feel like the bottom lip does most of the vibrating and the top lip kind of keeps everything right. We can also take a look at what's happening with your teeth and tongue behind. I find it's easier to do this with either your teeth closed or your teeth almost closed with your tongue right behind them. And that can help to regulate the pressure that's happening before the lips, before the air reaches the lips. So with those different things, take a look at to see if you can try and get that sound to last for longer. It definitely sounds like the lips rather than the breath, though, if that's what's happening. And of course, that top tip too, I wish I could show you with a camera right now, but I can't. But if you take your forefinger and thumb just below and push upwards, being careful not to pull tightwards, that can help to sustain the sound as well. And fingers crossed you can get that. But I will say as well that the other SOVTEs are great. Straw and mortar, fantastic as well, and that requires a lot less coordination. So hopefully that helps as well. Thank you so much. Any other questions on this side? Thank you. Pen, hello. What's your question?
So I downloaded the app like you mentioned, and I've unfortunately forgotten what the ideal frequency you said was. So could you please remind me?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I should make a pin or something like this for this stuff. But so there are a lot of ideal frequencies. A good place to start can be having a floor of 140 and highs of like 240, 220, 260, depending on where you are with everything. When we're just starting to work with pitch, the main thing to know is that it's more about agility and control and staying in the zone than it is about getting mega high. You know, we want our average when we're starting out to be maybe 170, maybe 200, where we'll spend most of our time. All good places to explore. So I'd say, yeah, floor, either 130 or 140, highs of anywhere between 220 and 260, depending on your ability as well. But all good places to be. We can also bring that floor a bit lower, totally viable to do. But when you're getting started, I think it's better to be able to have lots of tight control and then have it be a little bit lower, give yourself more space, than to have you just constantly slipping back down to where we don't want to go. Awesome. Cool beans. Any other questions relating to what we just had? Thank you for the question there, Pen. Iris, hello. What's your question?
Well, I don't really have much time because I have to go to work in like a minute, but I do want to ask you one question before I leave.
Sure.
I have been practicing for about a year. I don't really have a general understanding like all the R3 and all that stuff. I don't really understand that well, but at some point in the future, is it all right, like, if I contact you or any other person, like, is there a way to contact you guys to, like, get, like, a one-on-one session so I can figure out where I'm at?
Yeah, totally. Would love to help. Absolutely. The best thing you can do is go over to transvoice.com. You can book in a consultation there, and we'll be able to take a look at what you want. Or if you want to book in a session right away, we have that option as well. Alternatively, you also do feel free to come back here at a later time. We'll see if we can get you up on stage too. But yeah, that would be best.
All right, thank you so much. I'm gonna dip because I have
No
to push
problem.
work, but thank you.
Good luck, have fun. Okay, take care. Bye. Any other questions before we move on? Nope. Awesome. Okay, let's keep on going. So I'd love to get another volunteer up on stage. We've just about got another time for another one. And Chop Bird, you were super early there. Why don't you get yourself up on stage? If I can get a big round of applause for Chop Bird, please. Woo!
Hello. Expensive cloud.
Hello, hello. Let me go ahead and grab my timer real quick. Alrighty, Chop Bird. How are you doing? How are things?
Hi. All right.
Cool. Good. Can you tell me a little bit about how things have been with voice for you? How long have you been at it?
Like, I guess sort of on and off, like very on and off for like.
I
think I kind of started trying it for like a year or so, but like very on and off. Again, going home.
Totally.
Like more so
What's made it so on and
recently.
off? Yeah.
Between just school stuff, me forgetting, and then like trying
Totally
to figure out gender shit. So yeah.
Totally appreciate that. I know it's a lot to unpack for sure. Cool. Okay, so let's take a little bit of luck here. What I'm hearing is that I think that your resonance is brighter than default. I think your pitch is higher than default as well. But I'm hearing quite a bit of weight here, you know.
Yeah.
If I was to make kind of like a rough abstraction of some of the things I hear, it's a little bit lower. It's got a little bit of this buzz behind it, but it's definitely brighter, you know? So I want to see if we can just, first of all, get you up into higher, softer land and see where we go from there, really.
Okay.
So let's give this a go. First of all, I want to start on the low note and we're just going to glide up. But as we glide upwards, we're going to get softer and softer and softer. We're going to take our time with this. Have a listen to this one and see if you can match me here. I'm going to go. You can hear that at the start. I had a lot of and drive, and I'm backing off as I go higher and higher. When you're ready, give that a go.
Okay. Okay.
Well done. Awesome. Cool. And as you go up this next time, I want you to be conscious of your air. And I want you to get a little bit more air going through the system as we get softer too. Okay? This isn't meaning that you have to be like at the top, like super breathy, but I just want to be having a little bit more air going through the system. Have a listen again. Okay. Yeah. Lovely. Okay, cool. Now let's pick a destination. We're going to do that same thing. We're going to go up to here. We're going to go. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 at the top. So again, this whole thing, heavy, not much air, very weighty and low, high, nice and soft, a little bit extra air, and then counting. 1, 2, 3. Okay, when you're ready, give that a go.
Do 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, we actually got the freaking weight there.
Yeah, I think that we kept a little bit heavy that time. One more time. And start off with an ah sound for me this time. Yeah, absolutely.
1, 2, 3.
Cool. I want you to go a little bit lower this time, and I'm going to ask you to try and keep as relaxed as you can. I'm feeling a little bit of squeezing and pushing on that top note here, so we're going to bring it down just a smidge. Can you match me here with a nice old please? You're very close. Right there. Good. Now we're going to try something a little different. That's beautiful. We're going to start off in that heavier kind of configuration. Then we're going to get softer and softer over 4 of these. We're going to go Okay, try that for me.
Wait.
Cool. What I'm hearing is that there's
I think I
still a
was
little bit
I
of
think
this
I was running out
weight
of breath.
coming in. Yeah, no worries. I would say we got a little bit too breathy on the end there too. No worries though. Can you try this for me? I want you to give me a really nice, really soft ah, like we did earlier on when we were exploring vocal weight as a group. Can you give me a nice one of these? Ah, so soft. That's better. Yes, cool. Can you give me an ah? 1, 2, 3. Ah, nice and soft as you can, but not too breathy. When you're ready, give it a go.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Cool. Good. This is more where we want to be. Now I'm going to put a bunch of different stuff on the screen here. Can you see that just to double check? Awesome. Good. Oh yeah, there's one behind me. Perfect. So we're going to start off with this first line here. We're going to keep everything really nice and soft. We're going to keep focusing on that light vocal weight. If you need to take a breath in, please do so. And we're going to keep the pitch nice and the same. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. The birch canoe slid on the smooth plank. So soft. Nice and relaxed. Take it away when you're ready, Chopbird.
Wait.
Nice and soft.
1, 2,
Imagine that dog
3.
again.
The birch canoe slid on the smooth planks. I can tell I got a little bit of tension there at the end.
I can feel that coming in. I'm glad you feel that too. We're going to go again and really imagine that dog. I know it sounds so silly, but these prompts that we have, they just trigger a sound and this is great. Okay, so again, we're going to imagine that cute creature. Aww, glue the sheet to the dark blue background. That's it, yes.
Glue the sheet to the dark blue background.
Good. I felt like it got better after sheet. Did you feel on sheet a little bit squeezing when it relaxed back a bit? Maybe a bit, huh? Cool.
What?
Awesome. Let's keep on going. Oh yeah, no worries. Beautiful work though. I can tell you can make this sound, it's just not super familiar.
Yeah, see, I've been talking to myself in Audacity for a while.
Yeah, I know that game. It's I've spent a lot of hours in Audacity playing things back. All right, we're gonna go again here. We're gonna go to the same one, but I want you this time to focus on the word sheet. Keep it nice and soft. Remember, really imagine that dog first. Or cat. Glue the sheet to the dark blue background. Take it away.
Glue the sheet to the dark blue background.
You're getting there. I feel it's still a bit hit-y-missy to when we get really nice and authentically lighter. Well, I felt like sheet wasn't the problem that time. It was more just generally we didn't quite hit it. It's hard to get, you know? I just want to say as well, this isn't the easiest thing in the world. Really close though. So we're going to go for, this time, something a little bit different. We're going to go for these days. A chicken leg is a rare dish. These were made in the 60s, by the way. Some of them are very bizarre. But we're going to go for the word these, and we're going to start off heavy and then get softer and softer and softer. Here we go. These, until it feels like I'm barely pushing it all. These, I'm just letting the sound come out. When you're ready, Chopbird, give that a go.
These.
Yeah. Beautiful. You got right to where I want you to get on the second and third one. That was gorgeous. One more time. We're going to go 3 times this time, and then we're going to go in with the rest of the phrase. These days, a chicken leg is a rare dish. So relaxed. Give it a go when you're ready.
These days, a chicken leg is a rare dish.
Good. It was lovely on these, but after days, we started to have it come back a little bit. So, really close. I want you to really slow down now and consider this more an exercise in chanting than it is with you just speaking, okay? The more that we can get out of our head in the old subroutines of speech, the better. So we're going to really take our time with this one here. We're going to go, these days, a chicken leg is a red dish. Don't be afraid to breathe in. Give it a go. Nice and slow, focusing on keeping that lovely sound. Take it away.
These
Yeah.
days, a chicken leg is a rare dish.
Good. Awesome work. Cool. How did that feel, by the way? Did that take like quite a lot of focus? How was it feeling?
It was focus. It was focus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
It was focus. It was focus. But actually coming out of the air hole, throat felt.
The owl. Yes. What? Sorry.
No.
Oh, it's okay. Okay. That's just about up to time. I love the air hole, though. That's my new favorite word for mouth. Beautiful work, Drop Bird. So to wrap everything up here, really, really nice work. We got to that softer spot, but what I was going to get onto next was that sometimes consonants can be a real problem in getting us there too. When we're changing our vowel sound, the pressure inside of our system is changing a fair bit. You know, the mouth is getting smaller or wider, and if we think about the voice as kind of like a garden hose, and if we've got the tap all the way on, and there's water rushing out the end of that hose, if you were to put your thumb over the end of that hose, would the pressure go up or go down, everyone, do you reckon? Yep, a lot of people pointing up. Absolutely correct. The same is true for our system here. As we narrow and enlarge the size within our mouth and our throat, it changes this pressure quite a bit. Now, pressure really changes when we start to get to different consonants. Things like days, where there's a big amount of occlusion, a big amount of stoppage of this air, or things like p. This can often be a trigger point for us to go back into old habits. We've got to think of voice as kind of really living and dying by air pressure. The more that we get that air right, the better that our voice is going to behave overall. And we can also start to see some of these sounds kind of like little landmines to put us back to where we used to be. So things like days, for example, what I heard with you, Chopbird, was a little bit of these lovely and stuff, these days, and that build of pressure then led us back to where we were. So I want to try one last little quick thing with you while I've got you on stage, and that is to have a really heavy d sound on days. We're going to go days and really feel that pressure build up. Absolutely. Now what I want you to do is to get a nice A sound, and we're going to just bring our tongue and lips together very briefly. We're going to go days, and you can hear how the sound wasn't that interrupted. Days. Try that for me.
Days.
Yeah. That's it.
Day.
Perfect. And that was very little pressure building up inside the system. When we focus on keeping a nice light vocal weight, we need to make sure that our consonants aren't throwing us back to where we used to be, which is a bit of what I heard here. Some other things that you can try, and for those of you who are also in the same boat as Chopbird here, we can try lots of different vowels. Again, use whatever prompt it is that gets you into that lovely light vocal weight sweet spot, okay? That ah is really good. Careful not to get too breathy. And we can try just going through lots of different vowel sounds. A, E, I, O, U, A, or little case, E, O, We can then try and mix them together continuously. E, A, I, O, U. And making sure that we don't E, A on certain sounds, get that weight creeping back in. It's all about listening and maintaining. Start small. You can then combine different sounds like we have in this matrix here. E, A, E, I, E, O. Ooh, felt the weight come up in E, O, soften out, get it nice and controlled. Then we're ready to go back into the speech and look out for those consonants. Great work, Chopbird. Thank you so much. Keep at it. You're doing great. If I can get a big old round of applause for Chopbird, please. Woo! Great work. Awesome. Alrighty, so we've got time for just a couple more questions here. Oh, actually, we don't. I'm so sorry. That brings us right up to time. I will stay after the stream, though, just to go through a couple of questions with y'all. But for those of you who are on the stream, thank you so much indeed for coming today. And yeah, let's start off with a few different questions. Alistair, thank you so much for streaming. Shay, are there any more online, actually, just before we wrap up the stream? I think Shay might be AFK. Oh, there we are. Hello.
Ruby asks, do you have any great resources to begin? Starter points.
Sure, absolutely. Please do take a look at our Trans Academy VODs channel. Plug, plug, plug. It's really good. It's got all of my sessions here recorded. It's got Jess's stuff on there, Savvy's stuff on there. It's a wealth of info. Outside of that, there are a bunch of different resources online. Stay away from anything that promotes a swallow and hold method. That is bad. There are loads of different creators out there. Savvy has a great Discord server that you can find. You can find the Trans Voice Lessons channel over on YouTube. Great content out there. Seattle Voice Lab has a bunch of great content as well. Take a look. Tons of stuff, spoiled for choice, but try out those VODs as well. Any other questions, Shay?
Yes. Ask, what's a good way to practice resonance?
So it depends where you are with resonance. First of all, the most important thing is separating it from pitch. So I'd recommend trying opening a pitch tracker or a spectrogram and monitoring your pitch to make sure it stays